guys, it's Nick from the Hungry Handgunner. So real quick today we're just going to do an intro to concealed carry and stuff like that. So what I'm wearing here, this is a lot of times what I'll be out and about in. You know, I might have a jacket or a t-shirt or a hooded t-shirt or something like that on, hooded sweatshirt, not a t-shirt. But most of the time, you know, I'm going to be dressed like this. It's going to be a t-shirt. No, these are 511 khaki pants or something similar, jeans. And when I'm out and about, I always have a gun on. So normally, you know, I carry concealed Glock 19 Gen 4. It's kind of been my go-to for a while. It's not a small gun, but it's not a large gun either. It's clear. And then always have an extra mag, which we'll touch on why in a little bit. It's not so much about your ammo capacity. Always have a decent pocket knife. This is the Spyderco Paramilitary 2. So just some basics. You guys saw, really wasn't that noticeable, and we'll go back to the table and talk a little bit more about that. Alright guys, we're back. So, you know, as you saw right there with the Glock 19, it's not very hard to get to. Even wearing a jacket or cover garment, you know, you can still get to it pretty quick as long as you practice clearing that cover garment. So, one more time for the internet range safety officers, gun is clear. So the Glock 19 Gen 4, they get a lot of hate. They're kind of ugly. They're not really anything special. You know, it's a black Glock. Even worse, I still have stock sights on it. So we'll talk about that in another video. But these guns, they're ergonomic. You know, some people love the finger grooves, some people hate them. It works for me. So you know, it's got a rail, put a light on. That's the PL Mini 2 by Olight. So good guns, 15+1 mag capacity, and I was carrying it appendix position, obviously, in a Fierce Defender, just Kydex holster. You know, nothing snazzy. So I wanted to make this video just to talk a little bit about concealed carry. I've had some people come up to me, and the overwhelming consensus seems to be they think it's a lot more complicated than it is, or a lot harder. It's a very easy thing to do, guys. The hard part is just practicing. You know, sit at your house until you feel like an idiot, practice clearing, getting draw. You would be surprised how many things can go wrong, and it's a lot better to find that out in your living room, practicing a draw and getting it snagged on your jacket or snagged on your shirt or what have you with a clear and unloaded gun, than to go to make that draw the first time when you actually need the gun and have it get hung up. So you know, you can conceal carry Glock 19, which I really don't have that many other carry setups. I wanted to come out here and show you guys a variety, but I've just kind of figured out what works for me, and that's what I roll with. I have other guns that I will occasionally use for carry, not too often though, and they all pretty much operate similar to the Glock. No external safeties. You know, case in point, this M&P 9C. You know, it's a Smith & Wesson, but it operates the same as the Glock. So you do step down from a 15+1 to a 12+1, and this mag has the pinky extension so you can get a full grip on it, but the flush fitting mags don't. So when you do that, your pinky's left dangling off the bottom there. So, you know, occasionally if I can't conceal carry the Glock, I might go to this, but the size difference between these two guns is, honestly, for me, doesn't really make a difference. You know, it's a little bit smaller, but like, again, for me, it doesn't really make a difference. So if I'm not able to carry this, I typically have my M&P Shield 9mm, which, again, for me, most of the time I can get away with carrying the Glock. And there are people that will tell you that you can conceal carry something like this. CZ P09 Urban Gray, 21+1 mag capacity, threaded barrel, suppressor height sights. Fantastic gun. I love it. It's my home defense gun. there is no way in hell I would try to conceal carry this. It's like a freaking, I don't even know, a hammer. It's massive. There is no way that I could comfortably conceal that gun. And even if I started out with it concealed, just doing things, moving, bending, picking at the kids, that thing is going to print like crazy. So as far as holsters go with concealed carry, and notice I keep saying concealed carry. Yes, open carry is permissible here in Georgia where I live. I think it should be permissible everywhere, but I'm not focused on that because I don't open carry. I concealed carry. The merits of open versus concealed carry could be discussed till the end of time, so we're not going to do that today. But as far as concealed carry goes, when you have a handgun like the Glock 19, which is a striker fired semi-automatic with no safety, you know, something gets inside that trigger guard, pushes down that center portion of the trigger, you could have a negligent, accidental, whatever. The gun could go off when you don't want it to. And when you're carrying a gun close to your body, that can have potentially devastating consequences. So, you know, there's a lot of good holsters out there that are made of leather or other soft materials, but we'll focus on leather. Leather's great. Leather looks nice, especially if you've got like a metal frame gun or a 1911 variant. Leather holsters, I mean, they just look nice. And brands like Galco and Bianchi and Triple K, there's some really good leather makers out there that make some really good looking holsters. The problem is that leather is a soft, supple material, so over time it will degrade. And the last thing you would want is that leather bending or otherwise inserting itself into the trigger guard. Now this holster is not really a great example because there's a reinforced holster mouth here to aid in reholstering and stuff like that. But other holsters, you know, there's the potential that that holster material can get inside the trigger guard. You go to holster that weapon that doesn't have a safety, or that you're not using the safety on, or even if you have the safety, it's inadvertently gotten bumped off and the gun goes off. If you're appendix carrying, I hope you've had all the kids that you are wanting to have. And if you hit that femoral artery, I hope they had all the time with you that they wanted to have. So, not to get too serious, guys, but I see people spend $800–900 on a carry gun and then bitch and gripe about spending $50 on a holster. You know, this is not just about Kydex versus leather or inside the waistband versus outside the waistband. This is about safety. So, you know, you're carrying a gun to protect yourself. You need to make sure that you aren't the threat to yourself. So Kydex, hard plastic, not super duper comfortable compared to leather, but this is not going to lose its shape. This is going to stay this way until it gets so worn out that it cracks or something like that, which I have never done to a holster. I hear people talk about it, so I figured I'd mention it. So most of your Kydex holsters are molded to your gun. This is designed for a Glock 19. It will work with my Glock 19X. It would probably work with a Glock 23, which is very similar. 17 is not going to work. You can see the muzzle sticking out just a little bit past the end of the gun. But the case in point, the holster is molded for the gun. The trigger guard is concealed. Covered. There's nothing getting in that trigger guard to depress the trigger. So, like I said, this is an appendix holster, so you have your belt clip and then this little stabilizing paddle, which is slightly adjustable to help hold it in position. You know, appendix carry does come with its own set of, I won't say dangers, but considerations. You really, I mean, when I put this gun on, I take it like this, I put it in my waistband, and when I get home, I take the whole thing out and I put it wherever I'm putting it. There's none of this holster in the pants, in and out, in and out, in and out, unless I'm practicing my draw and the gun's unloaded. With a loaded firearm, no, I just put the whole thing in, call it a day. I've had all the kids I plan on having. I still don't want that gun going off right there. So that is inside the waistband. Now you have some other options, such as outside the waistband. Again, kind of like my Glocks. So we'll go with that. This is a Safariland ALS paddle holster. So the gun is in there, trigger guard completely covered. This is very similar to like a duty holster for law enforcement. Obviously it doesn't have the bail over the top and a little bit different retention level, but you know, this goes inside. It's actually very comfortable up against your hip, and there is a little hook in there that helps hook on your belt to hold everything in there. Now the gun will not come out until I depress this little thing here, which is very easy to hit with your thumb, and the gun comes right out. So it does have some retention. I know somebody's gonna say, Nick, why are you talking about a outside the waistband holster for concealed carry? Well, if you're in one of those states where it's cold a lot of the time and you can wear a jacket, this becomes a very easy option to conceal. As well as being slightly more comfortable long term throughout the day than something inside the waistband. You know, I very seldom use this. If I do, it's when I'm out doing yard work, something like that on my own property, and it's just more comfortable rather than have it up against me in the hot Georgia summer while I'm trying to weed eat. This works better for that. So there are good options. Again, make sure you get a holster that completely covers the trigger guard. Weapons choices. We touched on it briefly. There is really no right or wrong, guys. I know there's going to be people that tell you if you don't buy an HK, you're cheaping out on your self-protection. There's going to be people that tell you that if it's not a insert brand here, then you made a bad decision. There are brands, firearm brands, that make good guns, that make reliable guns. That would be the overwhelming majority. And then there are brands that not so much. So I'm not going to name those brands. It's pretty easy to figure out for yourself who that is, or what are you comfortable trusting your life to, and we'll just leave it at that. If it's a $250 Smith & Wesson SVDE 40, great. Or if it's a Glock 19, great. H&K, great. Sig Sauer, great. Whatever. Find a gun that fits your hands, fits your lifestyle, that you will actually carry. If you go too small of a gun, it's not comfortable to shoot, you're not going to practice with it. And when you don't practice with it, if you need that gun, you're not going to be able to put the rounds where they need to be in a timely fashion. If you go with too big of a gun, it's not going to be comfortable to carry, you're going to be worried about printing, you're going to leave it at the house or in the vehicle, and then you're not going to have it if you need it. So striking that balance between concealability and shootability, for lack of a better word, is really important. As far as calibers, God, I'm sick to death of the caliber wars. You got 9mm, which I carry, you have 40, and you have the 45 ACP, or the three big ones. So you got some 357 SIGs and 5.7 by 28 and 380s. Well, anything 380 and up meets the FBI's minimum standards for their penetration, etc., etc. So now the 380 kind of barely squeaks through depending on what ammunition you're talking about. And no, guys that carry 22s, I'm not saying you can shoot me with a 22. We're not doing that. So anyway, go with one of the big time-proven cartridges. If you decide you want to carry a 1911, you know, 45 is really common. They also chamber it and other things. If you want to shoot a lot, and I mean a lot, and practice for relative inexpensively, then 9mm may be the way to go. You can get 1,000 rounds of ammo for like 150, 160 bucks. So at the end of the day, you need to be able to practice. So if you go get yourself a nice boutique round like a 5.7 by 28, or I won't call 357 SIG a boutique round, but it is, you know, pricey. If you go get a round like that, it's going to cost more to practice with. If you're prepared to spend that money, great. I'm not. I shoot 9mm. Meets the FBI's recommended standards for penetration. There are a lot of good ammunition manufacturers. I carry the Federal HST 124 grain hollow points. So again, like, I think people spend so much time caught up in what they're going to carry, they don't really think about how, why, affordability for practice, daily practicality, all that other stuff. So yeah, gear's important, but I think spending some time and just kind of asking yourself hard questions. Are you prepared to use deadly force? Are you prepared for the eventuality that your kids might see you use deadly force? Are you watching your exits when you're out? Just things like that, I think, are a lot more important than what type of gun you carry. You know, get out, practice, make it fun. Don't make it a chore. I love getting out and shooting. I would say most people do. So when it comes time though to shoot that carry gun, I hear people talk about it like it's a chore. Shoot what you like to shoot, carry what you like to shoot, I should say. Chances are you're going to be a better marksman if you practice more, and if you enjoy practicing, you are going to practice more. So, sorry guys, it's a little bit more long-winded than I originally planned on. So, like I said, some people just kind of ask me, hey, what would you recommend for concealed carry? And I'm always hesitant to answer that question because there's just so many variables. I never recommend a specific gun. I'm not going to tell you the Glock 19. Just because I carry it, you should carry it. I won't tell you that. There's a lot of good gun manufacturers out there. Glock is not the best. It's just the best for that role for me. I'm not saying it is for you. Get out there, try a bunch of different guns, guys. I have friends that ask me what gun, and I say, come shoot some of mine and figure out what works before you go spend the money on a firearm for self-defense. So practice a little bit, figure out what works for you. Get that gun. Get a decent holster that covers the trigger guard. Make sure you practice your draw strokes inside with an unloaded gun at the house. Practice your dry firing. All this stuff comes together and helps you build on those fundamentals to make you a better shooter. And then if you get it down where there's no stress, no time pressure, getting out and putting yourself under stress and time pressure it'll just help sharpen that iron even more, to speak. So as always guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. If you would, give me a subscribe. We're almost to 100 subscribers, which is about 100 more than I thought I was going to have when I started doing these videos. So that's really cool for me. So it's neat to see the channel taking off. Drop a comment if you're going to correct me, which I'm sure I'll get a lot of people that tell me I'm wrong on this one. Go ahead. Any other video ideas you guys have, you can either comment on the videos or on YouTube. Drop me a message on Facebook at The Hungry Handgunner. Follow me on Instagram at The Hungry Handgunner. And we do have a website up now where you can get some shirts and stickers and stuff. So I'm still working on designs. So there's a few up already. I'll put that link in the description, as well as a link to my blog where I do have 3 different articles on just carry tips for beginners. So as always guys, thank you for watching. Keep shooting and stay safe.